All right, guys, I'm going to talk about Premiere Pro. Um, it's a really good editing software. It costs money. There are other options, but if you guys have the opportunity, like you do in this class, to use Premiere Pro, I would go ahead and use it. It allows us to do a lot of things. So the first thing that you're going to do, really, in pretty much any editing software, compositing editing software, is you're going to click New Project. You're going to give it a title. So this one is Topa Topa commercial. Okay. And then, so you give it a name. You're going to select the location. Your location is going to be in your Z drive. Z as in zipper. You're going to create a folder where that is. Because I'm working on my Mac, I'm just going to go ahead and do a folder here. But you guys are going to put a Z in your Z drive. You guys are going to create, I would just do it as video, audio, projects. Click create, and then inside there, create another folder, which is going to be the name of your project. So mine is Topa Topa commercial. Okay. And then we're going to click create. This is what you're going to choose. Okay. Now, everything in here you can go ahead and leave. The only thing that I want you to check is this. Okay. So that we can help have better organization in our stuff. All right, so when Premiere Pro opens, it's basically going to open up into 4 panels. Let me close this one. And close this one. And this one too. Jeez Louise. Anyways, 4 panels. These would be the 4 panels, okay? On the bottom left, which is the one that I'm going to be talking about, this is your project panel, okay? There usually is only 2 things in here, which is your actual project where you're going to ingest and import all of the media. So that would be your pictures, your assets, your audio, your video assets. Media browser is just browsing so you can actually navigate to it, which I actually think that there's better ways to do it to get your stuff in here. Top left, this is your source panel. Top right is your program panel, and bottom right is your timeline. Everything, if I'm going on here, looking here, this is how I could have different workspaces. Almost all of them are just variations of the same thing. So in assembly, I don't have my program panel, I just have my source, my timeline, and my project panel. If I'm in editing, it's focused for what I need. So this would be much better for what I need for editing. If I'm doing color, then it's opening up my color panel. Again, I still have my project panel if I want, my timeline, my source, my program. If I'm going for effects, it's now focused on effects, but this is still my source panel, my project panel, my timeline, and my program panel. Audio, I have my audio mixer, program panel, sounds that I can do, timeline, graphics panel. It just basically adds some easy graphics that we can do, or we can create our own. Program panel, timeline panel, project panel, and source panel. You can customize this however you want. If you go up into Windows, you can select which panel you want. You can save it as a new workspace. You can edit the workspace. You can have it basically opening automatically how you want it whenever you open up your projects. Okay, we can still navigate to almost everything using the tabs at the top: graphics, markers, sequence, clips, edit, and file. File is where we need to save all of our stuff. Premiere Pro, especially on these computers, tends to occasionally close out or freeze. So save often and frequently. Save all is what you actually want to click on once you start doing this. And this would also be how we're going to actually export our stuff out when we're ready to have it viewed. Okay. If your project doesn't automatically open, you can open up a project. Team project does not work, not on your guys' version of Premiere Pro. Okay, so focusing just on the project panel. Okay, of course it's saying import media to start. If I open it up bigger, or I want to have the panel that I'm focused on, the one that's highlighted in blue, to fill my screen, I'm hitting the key that's right to the left of the one, the little squiggle, and that's going to focus it. I can hit it again and it minimizes it. Okay, so if I go to my project file, so this would be after you guys would download your entire project off of Google Drive, so everybody has a copy, you would put it in your Z drive, okay, in that folder that you just created. So here I have files that I can use for editing, so I can just drag and drop. Okay, you could either do it that way, or you can double click and it'll open it up like so. Okay, I like just doing the drag and drop. It's going to import all the files. Now, the thing with when you're putting stuff into Premiere Pro, it is non-destructive. That means that it's basically making copies of your stuff so that if you edit or choose to delete, you don't lose the entire project. Yeah, let me cancel that because I want just the videos. We'll start from scratch. Okay. And we go in. Media. Okay. And we're done. Okay, so now you have a couple different looks. You can, magnify what you're looking at. You can choose to look at list view or thumbnail view. If I'm in thumbnail view, I can drag over and scrub my files to find out if that's what I want. So I can scrub over, I can drag down here, and I can listen. If there's audio, it lets me know if there's audio because it's going to be on the bottom right. It's letting me know that there's audio that's linked to it. So I can look at all the different clips to decide what I want. And here we can start importing stuff, but right now I just want you guys to understand what this does. Okay, so if we want to go to list view, all we got to do is just click it and I can see all of my stuff. Now, there's a lot of information here. We see the scroll bar. We can move over. So let me just make this bigger so you can see it. I have my audio info. I have my video info. I can look at the frame rate. All of those things would be good. I could just drag this stuff over. Okay. And in list view, so I see a whole bunch of colors, but and some of them will actually have their own color scheme, but we can create, say, bins that we use to help organize our files. So I could call this, KC Brewery. Click enter, and then I could start going down and looking at which files I want. I want this one, this one, this one, this one. So I could start organizing my work and making it much easier for when I'm doing my project. I can, again, right-click, new bin, and I could put this one as coffee, and then start selecting my stuff. Shift-click, drag and drop. Not really anything different from almost any other program that we used before. Okay, so if I want to actually color things, on these colors, I can right-click and go to Label, and I can do different color groups. So I could start coloring different items. So let's say that I'm going into the Casey Brewery, and I go in here. I could select everything. I could right-click, go down to Label, and I could make them all say a certain color. Maybe I want them all to be mango. All right. So then if I'm back in my list view, see how they're all colored now? If I'm looking back here, now I have everything about Casey. I have it colored. I could do this for all my stuff so that I could easily, when I'm looking at the timeline, know exactly what type of files I'm looking at. Okay. When you're done looking at them, you can just go ahead and minimize. I can hit that. Okay, so now I have a whole bunch of files. I have ones with audio. I have some just video. Let's see, what else do I got? In the media, I have there are some stills in here somewhere. But with your guys' project, what you basically have is you have all this stuff in one place. That's on your project panel. Okay, you're going to use that, and you start scrubbing and organizing your files. You could create a bin. You could start putting them in order. You could double click on them and you open it into a source panel. Notice it says source. Okay, I can scrub and listen to my stuff. I can use shortcut keys. So when we want to start editing and pulling stuff, remember it's non-destructive. If I wanted to start grabbing some stuff, I'm going to want to maybe not take all of it right away. Okay, so if I'm, let's see, start with some good B-roll. Alright, so if I have here and I wanted to start looking at it, spacebar will play, L will play, J, K, and L, you should start getting used to not using the mouse if you can. J, K, and L is rewind, pause, and play, and forward. You could hold K and L to go forward in slow-mo. You could rewind by holding J and K to go rewind in slow-mo. You could go frame by frame by using the arrow keys. Okay, so let's say that I find where I want, and that's what I want to start at. I'm going to hit the I key. Okay, now I go to where the end of the clip that I want, and say that's my out clip. I'm going to hit O for out. If I was doing these are just marking my in and my out points. Okay. If I don't get it exactly how I want, I could just click where I want and hit the O key again, or click where I want and hit the I key again. And then here I can choose, so I can drag this whole thing down to my timeline. Okay. I could create a new sequence, which both of them will do the same thing. The reason why I'm telling you to drag down is you pick the clip, the types of clips that have the size that you want. So that's the screen resolution. If you're shooting everything in 1920 by 1080p, then you're going to want to have the very first clip that you drag into a sequence to be 1920 by 1080p. If you have some clips that are 1920 by 1080p and you have some clips that are 720, then 1080 by 720, then you're going to probably want to drag in your 1080 by 720 first so that it will set up the sequence that way. If you're doing it this way and you click sequence, you're going to have to actually manually put in what size you're doing. Okay, so I could pick based off my frame rate and my size what I wanted to go with. Okay, I find it is just easier to look for your very first clip and then drag from there. And it doesn't need to technically be your first clip, but it's going to be the one that you're going to drag in first to set the sizes. So I can choose here if I want to drag just the video, but it's going to be dragging only the stuff that's in between the in and out points. So I drag it and I drop it. So you notice how it didn't bring the audio? That's because that's what I drug into my timeline. So now if I go back to my project panel, I have, and let me go back to list view, I have now a new icon. This stands for a sequence. So I could go ahead and re-click this and I could call it intro. Same as what you would probably want to call your stuff as, you know, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3 for your sequences to make it easier. So I now have an intro sequence. That's what's titled right here. And I could scrub this and make sure that I have what I want. Okay, and I can go ahead and start building from there. I'm going to stop the video because I'm going to go into the other pieces in individual videos.